Hey tubers, what's going on, man? Welcome back to another episode of Ted Talks Guitars and Life. Hey, if you like this content, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel. Come on back and hang out anytime at Ted Talks Guitars and Life. Today in this video, what we're going to begin to do is to compare, which might seem really unfair to you, a $145 Stratocaster to a $429 Stratocaster. And the reason that we're doing that is the Squier Classic Vibe, to me, is the gold standard of budget strats. Hey, you might not agree with that. Guess what? Put it in the comments, man. I'd love to hear what you think in terms of budget strats. What is the gold standard? So we're going to do this in three parts. The first part, we're just going to look at the body-to-body comparison and features, okay? Let's start with the most logical part, and that is the body. So both of these guitars are full-size bodies. So that is a significant thing. Oftentimes when you buy a budget Stratocaster, what you're buying is a body that is not a full thickness body of a Strat. Now that comes into play if you want to put particular pickups in a Strat. You need the depth of the full-size body to be able to do that. A lot of budget Strats. So let's talk about other Squier guitars just for a moment. So I have owned a lot of Squier guitars through the years. I have owned the Squier Bullet, and I have owned other kinds of Squiers. I do not have, nor have I played the Debut series. But what I know about the Debut series, it's the $119 guitar that's sold pretty much on Amazon, is that it is a thinner body. Other Strat budget guitars have thinner bodies. The Squier Bullet has a thinner body. Oftentimes, a thinner body means that the guitar does not weigh as much, although it depends on the kind of wood and that particular board that that guitar body is made from. Both of these bodies are full-size Strat bodies. The Squier Classic Vibe is made of pine. This guitar weighs in at a whopping 9 pounds, which is a bit much for this old man. The Tease ST-1 weighs in at 7 pounds. It is a basswood body guitar. Now you can find all kind of debates on the tubes about tone and tone woods and what wood is better for guitars. You know what, man? Feel free to put it in the comment. Tell us about, your thoughts on the kind of wood that guitars are made of, the benefits, etc. Both of these guitars on the body are finished with a poly type finish. Both of these guitars have an output jack that is more than likely, I have not, spoiler alert, done under the hood with the Squier Classic Vibe the whole time I've owned it. I have never taken off the pick guard or looked at the output jack. However, I am 99% sure that in the Tease guitar and in the Squier Classic Vibe Strat, we are going to find your run-of-the-mill, single point of contact, import size output jack. And you know what, guys? If those output jacks work, if the guitar cord connects well, and you don't have any problem with it, man, rock on with your bad selves. You don't have to replace those for me or for anybody else, man. You do you. That's the first mantra of the channel, right? All right, both of these guitars have 3 single coil pickups, Alnico style pickups. Both of these guitars have 1 volume and 2 tones. The Tease guitar has a box switch, and the Squier Classic Vibe, according to the specs, again, I've yet to verify this, has a blade switch. Okay, now I'm going to have to make you dizzy just for a moment. I hate to do this, but we need to look at the bridge saddles for a moment. So these are what Squier or Fender calls the vintage style saddles. And they're kind of the ones, I don't know if you can see this really well, where you've got the little kind of flat and then it's higher on either side. Anyway, they're calling those vintage. They are 6 independent saddles for setting up intonation. Okay, you can tell that on the body of this guitar, the string alignment is good. The strings are lining up pretty much at the center of all the pickup magnets. That's what you're looking for. In the Tease, you've got 6 independent saddles as well, but they are more kind of square, although if you look at them from the side, they are kind of a little bit of a dip in them, okay? But again, on the Tease guitar, you will see that the string placement is pretty good. The treble E string, the high E right here does not appear to be quite centered over that pickup magnet. Let's talk about the necks. On the Squier Classic Vibe, you have a heavily polyed neck. On the Tease ST-1, you have pretty much an unfinished fingerboard on the front, and then on the back you have a lightly satined fingerboard. Okay, so the Squier Classic Vibe has 21 tall, narrow frets made out of probably nickel material. It doesn't specify on the spec sheet. The Tease guitar, however, has 22 rounded ball and stainless steel frets. So that's a preference thing. Hey, put it in the comments. Do you prefer nickel or stainless steel frets? Tell us why. Let's have some fellowship about it on the channel. Let's move around to the nuts. So both of these guitars, oh, what a messy background that is. Both of these guitars came with a bone nut. Neither of these guitars came with locking tuners. The Fender style Squier guitar came with these vintage tuners, and the Tease came with closed back, basic tuners that you see on any kind of budget guitar. Now, I have not put locking tuners on the Squier Classic Vibe the whole time that I have owned the guitar. Why? Because those tuners have held up well, and I have gigged in my context with this guitar a number of times. The Tease ST-1, I have not yet replaced those tuners. I may, as a player preference, I just prefer locking tuners. And if I've got a budget guitar where I start at $145, there ain't nothing wrong with spending a little bit of cash and getting some locking tuners. The Squier, by contrast, I paid $429 for that guitar. It was priced at $459, and I had some kind of coupon or something. And so, when you buy a $429 guitar, adding parts gets expensive. When you start at $145, adding parts becomes an easier proposition. On the headstock, nothing really to write home about here, except the Squier Classic Vibe has kind of a round string guide where the strings go under. There's little grooves in those. Man, my preference is some kind of roller string guide. the dog's play area. Don't mind that. He likes socks. Does your dog eat socks? My dog eats socks. Anyway, clearly we're letting him have that one. All right, back to this. So this is looks like a Fender road worn kind of a string guide. I prefer the rollers, as I was saying before the sock conversation occurred, because these are okay, but there's still kind of some friction under those. Now the Tease has the basic string trees that almost every guitar player that I know would replace that immediately as first order of business, to put some kind of rolling string guides on there. So there you have it, man. That is a body-to-body comparison, a side-by-side view. I have not flipped these guitars over to give you that perspective. I certainly could. However, let me say this. I have visually inspected both of the guitars on the back, and what I can tell you, a quick peek into the tremolo cover, if you will, on the back would suggest that both of the tremolo systems have a very similar size block on those. Some of y'all like a really thick trem block. Some of you don't care, and but they both have a thinner block. Well, we will do some under the hood. We'll take both these guitars apart and we will assess their parts in a later time. Well, that's the side-by-side comparison of the Squier Classic Vibe and the Tease ST-1.